This is the Extended Play Podcast with E, Tank, and Limitation Crap. Hi!
Welcome to the Extended Play Podcast with E and Tank. Today's episode is entitled B. We're going to get into B-sides and what that is.
So this is embarrassing because for the second week in a row, I thought we were going to talk about all things bee related.
Okay.
Yeah. I had an apiary set up out back.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I had a whole I had a beekeeper suit.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually wearing one right now.
I wondered why
that should have been your first tip that we weren't on the same page.
I thought it was like a COVID thing. Or
No, it's just full protective gear.
Oh, wow.
I've been stung one time too many.
Well,
all right. Well,
we can roll with it.
Okay, let's make it work.
So we'll get into basically the whole universe outside of studio albums. So non-standard tracks. So we're talking traditional B-sides. We'll talk a little bit about cover songs, songs that have only been played live, just those things that you can't find when you buy the physical album or you stream the album.
For the record, I kind of want this to be our shittiest episode.
Oh.
And it might very well be.
Okay.
So that when someone says, hey, I didn't like that episode, we can go, it was a B-side. What'd you expect?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
good one.
Living the gimmick.
Yeah, you are. And a little bit later on, we will have another edition of the Playlist Challenge. This episode's topic will be verbs, which I didn't know that you had to be a former English teacher to know what a verb was. But as you'll hear by evidence of a song that my co-host picked, I guess that's the case.
Look, it was 80% successful. Okay, it's a B-.
So let's get into it.
So like E alluded to, we're talking about everything that doesn't make it onto a studio album. What do you like? What do you not like? And generally, how do those songs impact the artist's career? Do they take an important place in their catalog? We want to kind of find out if maybe for some of you out there, some B-side is your favorite song from that artist.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess that a lot of times, more often than you would think, the B-sides are the artist's favorite song.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I bet.
And, maybe we can start there and talk about the process and the politics of what makes it onto an album.
Yeah. And I think this all, the notion of a B-side, right? Not to give a history lesson, but it comes from for our younger listeners, it comes from the notion of of issuing a single, right? And typically like a 45 RPM record that had like the single, the one that was going to be played on the radio, the song that the band was, or the A&R people or whoever were most excited about and thought would be a hit. And on the other side would be the B-side, the A-side and the B-side. And the B-side would not be a non-album track. It would often get included on the album later, but it wouldn't be a single. It seemed like, I don't know, like a lesser song in some ways.
Yeah, I think that's a trend that sort of actually, I think there were cycles to that.
Oh, were there? Okay.
I think at the beginning, it was used as it's a second song. I mean, I'm completely pulling this out of my ass.
That's fine.
But I believe at the beginning it was more, here's a second song from the album.
Yeah.
I feel like it evolved into here is a song that is interesting.
Yeah.
It's not on the album. It became a tool to sell the single.
Absolutely.
Instead of selling the album.
For sure.
So it's like, all right, so here's the song, there's a single we want you to buy, but here's a cover song you're not going to get anywhere else.
Right.
To try to get you to buy the single and the album.
And that was our experience growing up. We talked about in a previous episode about buying cassette singles. And that's the only reason I would buy a cassette single is because, well, let's say they were months and months from you knew it was months or months before the actual album would come out. And it was the only way to listen to the song. But more often than not, it was for the B-side because you knew it was going to be a non-album track, or it had like in hip hop, I feel like they'd have a song with a guest MC on it.
Right. Or an instrumental.
Yeah.
So like if you want to record your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So that was a big draw for me for sure.
Yeah. And man, thinking back, how much of an environmental waste.
Oh my God.
Entire cassette tapes for one song.
Yeah. For one song. Well, two, I guess.
Yeah. And I remember like they would really, you'd even have to flip it over. Like, it's like, couldn't you just put two on the same fucking side?
They definitely could have put them on the same side.
You had room.
I guess they save money on the tape.
Yeah.
Do you recall any, well, the other thing to think about is, I'm sure we'll get into this later, is artists from time to time will put together entire B-side collections, right? Like they'll just grab a bunch of songs that didn't make it on albums over the years, put them all together, package it as a way of like I think, unfortunately, was a money grab for a while for a lot of people.
Could be money grab, could be fan service.
Yeah.
I stand by that one of my favorites, Anthrax, still holds the crown for the best name for such an album of Attack of the Killer Bees.
Right. Man, you're a sucker for a good pun.
I am. And no one's come close to that one yet. Yeah, it's probably, and I think too, a lot of those become, it's how they get out of their record deals, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
If you have a contract you're not crazy about, you have to deliver 5 albums. That's why you get a lot of best of live. Like if you ever ask, why does this artist have 4 live albums? Well, because they want it to count against the quota, and then they can get to a new contract.
That's like that Marvin Gaye album. What's it called? Here, My Dear, where he got a divorce and he had to pay alimony, and he didn't want to record another album, but needed to. And so he recorded an album of just shit songs. He's like, I don't believe in these songs. They're not great.
Yeah.
Here, My Dear, like you get the profits from this album, which is kind of kind of a baller move in a way.
Yeah.
Right? But then of course, like I read a review of it the other day, and it's been historically seen as like a joke, like this is not Marvin Gaye. Like Marvin Gaye is held in such high esteem. I read a review the other day that said it was a great album. I'm like, no, this is what Tank talked about when we talked about critics, is that at a certain point you just elevate people and just say everything they do is magic. I'm sorry, B-sides are often not magic, but sometimes they are. Sometimes there's great stuff out there.
So in terms of what makes an A-side, right? So I guess to understand the B-side, you have to get inside the mind of an A-side.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Again, I can only speak to the bands that I am familiar with and I geek out on to get that level of detail. But from the bands that I follow, typically rock bands, they probably cut 20 to 30 songs.
Yeah.
And 10 to 12 make it on the album.
Right.
So you have to think that there are probably songs that are certain people in the band, their favorite, that don't make the album. And then when songs pop up when they play them live, those are probably those songs.
For sure. Yeah, you can see that.
Because I would imagine that as much as they don't want it to be, there is some both commercial and even artistic limitations on what can go on the album. For instance, let's say they have a song that's a ballad and they think it's the 4th best song, but they have 3 ballads already.
Oh, sure.
And they don't want 4 ballads on an album. So, well, now it's a B-side.
No kidding.
So I think every now and then you find a gem that the B-side is maybe better than a song on the album.
Absolutely.
Because it was too much of one flavor.
Right.
Generally, though, it's funny because when you first get access to it, there's this recency bias. An album comes out, you love the album.
Yeah.
And then like a year or two later, it's like, here's some unreleased B-sides. You're like, oh shit,
it's going to be great.
Is way better than the songs on the album. How is this not on the album?
Right.
And then you listen to it about 10 more times, like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's good to know that you can have faith in your favorite artists, that they're the best arbiters of their own, of the quality of their own work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
They know better than anyone, clearly.
Yep. And a lot of them tend to be cover songs.
They do. Which, it's a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
Especially, there's a couple different ways you can take a look at covers. A lot of times we get introduced to cover songs where a band, it's the first time you hear about a band, you hear their song or an artist, and you fall in love with the song, and then you find out it's a cover, and they actually got popular from, like, that's the first time you've heard of them, they've had a cover song. Other times your favorite bands are doing covers of obscure, often obscure artists, I feel
Usually, I think pop artists will typically do covers of songs that are already known.
Yes, that's true.
Other genres, like, I didn't know how to feel, because like I'm a big Black Crowes fan. I didn't know how to feel when I realized that Hard to Handle was a cover.
Right.
And it's like, oh, so it's not even theirs.
And it's pretty faithful, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just enough to where it's like, oh, I just got into this band and I feel like you were lied to,
It was like their first single,
that
right?
was the big thing. Dude, there's a huge amount of people, that's all they know still.
That's crazy.
You say Black Crowes, oh, Hard to Handle.
Yeah, one hit wonder, they'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started.
So what makes let's dive into covers then. Anyway, this will be a circuitous conversation. We'll get back to
it always is.
Yeah, it is. What makes a good cover song for you? Like, what are you looking for in a cover song?
I think it's a very hard line to toe. And
sorry,
you all right over there? Hold on, we're going to take a quick pause for a welfare check on my co-host. Very hard line to toe, but I think the best cover song, and this is going to sound hokey, but you keep the spirit of the original with the spirit of the guy or the gal covering it. And that's very hard to do.
It is.
And I think it's only possible when the artist covering it has true reverence for the people they're covering.
Sure.
Because then they get it.
Yeah.
Right. If you or I were asked to talk about a band that we are huge fans of, you're probably going to get a very nuanced and full discussion. If you ask us about something we don't really like, you'll get kind of, I think covers are the same way.
Okay.
If you walk up to an artist and say, here, cover this.
Yeah.
Or someone in their band or their label.
Sure. Yeah.
I think you end up with something colored by numbers.
Okay.
But I think when you really are into an artist, you're like, here's what I want to do to it. Like, I'm going to respect the original vibe, but I'm going to put my stamp on it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the best cover I've heard in a decade or two, I think, is the Jason Isbell cover of Sad But True.
They betray, I'm your only true friend now. They betray, but I'm forever there. I'm your dream, make it real. I'm your eyes when you must steal. I'm your pain when you can't feel. Sad but true. I'm your dream, mind astray. I'm your eyes when you're away.
Oh, okay. On that, and that was that big compilation.
Yeah,
right?
the Blacklist, where Metallica got, it was a nauseatingly impressive list of like Lady Gaga, Elton John, like they got
everybody.
Because when you're that big in the industry,
sure.
I know it's a money thing, but it was still cool. But yeah, he did Sad But True, and it was perfect. It sounded nothing like the original.
Right.
It was an outlaw country kind of vibe, but the lyrics were the same and the overall tone was the same. It's perfect.
Cool. Yeah, nice.
And I wish we had more of those, especially when it's two of your favorite artists. I mean,
well, that's
a blast.
I mean, how rare that is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I like, as far as what I like about covers, one of the things I do.
What's your favorite?
My favorite cover, I have a list.
Oh.
I have a Spotify playlist called My Favorite Covers, and I'm going to open it up. Of course I do.
He does.
Right, yeah, I mean.
Every time I think I might be one step ahead.
No.
He's got a playlist.
It's up right now. Okay. Okay. Favorite in that. So there's songs that I didn't know were covers. Like, okay, I'll just answer it straight out.
Mm-hmm.
One of my first memorable covers that I really loved was Signs. By Tesla.
Yep.
Which is a cover of a 5-man acoustical jam.
No, 5-man electric band.
Five-man electric band.
Yes.
Right.
And then the play on words was...
I always do this. Yeah. The play on words was the album was called 5-man acoustical jam.
Yes.
Okay. The song is like an when I heard it for the first time, I'm like, oh, this is like an unplugged Tesla, like this hard rock band doing something way outside of what they normally do. And then someone's like, oh yeah, that's a cover. And it's a pretty faithful cover, other than they throw in a swear word or whatever and some yelps, some.
I made up my own fucking sign.
I love that one because, well, I don't know why.
I think that's like the Sad But True.
Yeah.
I'll do my fucking homework on Tesla, I guess, but I'm guessing they had reverence for the song.
They would have had to.
Right?
Yeah.
That's an obscure one to just pick up out of nowhere.
They're of that age where that would have been the song of their childhood, right? Because I think it's a 70s, the late 60s, or late 60s, early 70s song. I like when so this is what I'll say about cover songs as far as in this list, I think they're all pretty equal. I don't think I have a favorite of all time. I do actually think I like when an artist goes a totally different way. So some of the songs on this list include a cover of Wasted Years, the Iron Maiden song.
By who?
By Ryan Adams.
Really?
And this is a guy that's done a whole Taylor Swift cover album, right?
Okay.
Like as part of his canon.
From now on, we're mentioning Taylor Swift on every episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Also have to say, I need to say Ryan Adams, scumbag. Right. I feel like that has to be part of the...
And stay tuned for later in season 2. There's a little foreshadowing.
Okay. So that's a really good one. It's an acoustic, very stripped down version. And I know because at the time when it came out, I was a huge Ryan Adams fan. He has a lot of reverence for Iron Maiden. He loves metal and hardcore and punk. It's a thing he's into. He happens to, I think he actually has made a couple albums in that vein, but he happens to record in sort of like an alt country classic rock type mode, but he likes that stuff. So Oh, this is a little anecdote, I can tell. I won a radio contest one time. Did you know that I won a radio contest? Probably not.
How would I not know this?
Because it happened at a weird time, like at a weird age.
Okay.
We weren't kids. It was post-college.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Were
That's
you
how old we
Were
are.
you in Chicago?
No, that's how old we are. The post-college still included listening to the radio and having radio contests.
Yeah, fuck off.
I was living in East Lansing, post-college. I was driving back to the greater Detroit area, and I was listening to student radio. And I mentioned before how Impact 89 FM, the MSU student-run radio station, is like fantastic. And they had a radio contest, and they played Dead Souls by Nine Inch Nails, the song from the Crow soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, who's the original by?
Who was it by?
It's by Joy Division.
Oh.
Yeah. And I knew it. I don't know how I knew it, because fast forward 20 years later, I probably just got into Joy Division 3 or 4 years ago, and I got into them through Interpol, who everybody just said they sound exactly like Joy Division. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'll check out Joy Division. I'm supposed to know who they are. Anyway, I called in and I'm like, yeah, it's Joy Division. They're like, oh, yeah, you won. And I don't know, I won concert tickets or something like that.
Well, still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of almost probably pre-internet time still.
Yes,
Where
probably.
The answer wasn't 5 seconds away for someone.
No, but I knew it right away. I was so proud of myself.
We should be reaching out to Impact and say, hey, how about, a little love for your, Spartan,
Yeah,
Spartan alumni.
that's a great idea.
Yeah. We will.
But again, a great example, 9 Inch Nails, Joy Division, reverence for the original. There's clearly a connection there. So that's why it works.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails,
Yeah.
covers.
Uh-huh. The Johnny Cash.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, that's iconic.
it is.
That is an extremely rare situation where
Yes.
a lifelong Hall of Fame elite level artist
Yeah.
might ultimately be remembered for the last thing he did more than anything else
No kidding.
as a cover song.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. And his career was floundering. He was, I mean, by all accounts, he was lost. He didn't know what people wanted to hear. He didn't know what to make. And then he hooks up with Rick Rubin, and they decide that they're going to do covers of these very non-Johnny Cash songs.
Yeah.
And that one hit
Huge.
the video is unforgettable.
Yes.
We'll link to that in the socials if you haven't seen it. It's incredible. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, to watch it at the end of your day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he died
Very
shortly thereafter. And then his wife died very shortly, like months after that.
Yeah.
And they're both featured in the video. No,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, imagine if we didn't have that. I mean,
Right?
thank God that artists are willing to put stuff, like to do covers, to put stuff out there that's not, that wasn't originally on an album, because you end up getting some great stuff, some really memorable music for sure.
Which stands to reason, too, that if you have two great artists, you have one has the idea, then the other has a way to make it even better, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So one thing that is, it doesn't happen much, but I have to make note of it because, again, with my favorite bands, can you think of, because I have one, when an artist covers their own song?
An artist covers their, so not like re-record, not like the, again, this is going to become the Swiftie podcast, but not like Taylor's version, right? Where she just records her own.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. So, I mean, Metallica they do a benefit every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the All Within My Hands Foundation.
Okay.
And they do like usually an acoustic show
Okay.
out in San Francisco. Money benefits their charity. And they did a version of All Within My Hands.
Okay.
And it's on Saint Anger, and it's literally screamy.
Okay.
Screaming, aggressive, and they do an acoustic version, which totally different instrumentation.
Wow.
3 minutes shorter, different vibe. It's
Really?
like spooky and haunting. Yeah.
That's wild.
Incredible. And then during COVID, they did Blackened acoustically.
Okay.
It was
Like
more
a different arrangement?
different arrangement and everything. It's just, but I guess, that was driven out of boredom with COVID,
Yeah,
right? It's
right.
like, what else are we going to do?
Well, you said Sturgill Simpson did that, right? Like he's doing it. It's a project
Correct.
where he's...
He has Cutting Grass. So
Yeah.
all of his songs reimagined as bluegrass.
That's crazy.
So that's also fascinating to me when an artist takes one of their own songs and go, you know what?
I could do that.
Yeah, I'm going to do it different.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've come across B-sides a lot recently in my sort of rediscovery or my increased love of jazz music, because as we've talked about in the past, most classic jazz albums you're buying are recorded in one take. You're getting one take of the whole band playing together, but it's not the only take they had. And so oftentimes there are a half dozen takes of the exact same song that end up on an album. And years later, this is a way for people who are obsessive about this kind of stuff, which let's be honest, Tank and I are obsessive about music, so stands to reason we'd be into this sort of stuff. This is why you can keep having a new Miles Davis record or a new John Coltrane. They'll say all this previously unreleased stuff. Well, it was all recorded in the same session that either didn't make the album because it was they found it lacking because it was a song that wasn't included at all, or it was a lesser take. And I got suckered into this at the beginning where I'm like, oh, I'm going to get all this extra material. And you're like, oh, the original's a better performance.
Right.
Like,
That's why,
yeah, you can hear like the piano player lagging behind the sax, or, I don't know enough about jazz to get into all that kind of stuff. Or people just miss notes, right? Because they're improvising,
right?
And they miss it sometimes.
But that leads to the interesting subset of songs the artist doesn't want you to hear.
Right.
So there are examples. I think Prince is one of them where they, so for instance, Prince was very protective of his unreleased material. He has thousands of songs in the vault, and he really didn't want people to hear them. And there's some controversy in that after he died about, okay, who's going to inherit that,
right,
and who are they going to respect his wishes?
Right.
What about when there's a song an artist really wishes they hadn't recorded, but for whatever reason the fans like it, or they like the naughtiness of it, like, oh, I'm not supposed to be listening to this.
The Black Album, was it called the Black Album? No, Prince had an album called...
Right. So that was, if you remember, I'm going to guess fucking early 90s.
Okay.
And it was a mythical thing. And you only got it if a friend had a tape, and then you had to dub the tape.
Incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was the Black Album.
It was a whole album of that kind of stuff,
yes,
right?
It was super raunchy.
Okay.
It's before he went born again Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss in not mentioning the Anderson .Paak tattoo that I mentioned back in an earlier episode, where he got tattooed on his forearm, "When I'm gone, please don't release any posthumous albums or songs with my name attached. Those were demos and never intended to be heard by the public."
Wow. That's awesome.
And it's not small. Like, you can read it really easily. So there's that. There's artists who are protective over that stuff because they feel like it's not of the quality they want. And then there's artists who are like I had encountered this recently with the 20th anniversary of Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by Wilco. They put out this double deluxe set of vinyl. They had one that was 11 albums, one that was 7 albums, one that was 4, and then one was 2, I think. And I got the 7 album one. Okay.
That's a lot of extra material.
I split the middle. And one is just a live album, and one is, or maybe even 2 of them, are alternate takes from those recording sessions. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, having watched the movie of the making of, I was really interested in that. So, but there's a podcast you can listen to recently on All Songs Considered. Jeff Tweedy did an interview about the 20th anniversary and this box set and about these alternate takes. And he talks about this one take of Ashes of American Flags. And the reason that this take didn't make it on the album, which I find fascinating because you never get that insight, I don't feel like
right.
Why didn't it end up on the album? And this version didn't end up on the album because he had been listening to this composer who would take 2 different classical pieces and layer them on top of each other as sort of like an experiment to see where things lined up. And he really liked it. He said he liked like the cacophony, like the sort of non-melodic parts of it. And so he tried it on Ashes of American Flags. He took a Stravinsky song and used a song-length sample underneath Ashes of American Flags, but they couldn't clear the sample.
Oh.
And he's like, this is my favorite version. This is essentially the one I would prefer to be on the album. But now, years later, we can clear it. I'm guessing they just have the money now that they can pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's included. And thank God it is, because it is. It's really good. Like, and I think that's the exception. I think often alternate takes aren't great. You understand why the artist put the take they want,
Right. No, there's a lot of times that I wish, and I'm kind of happy when they do it, but I wish artists would go back. I hate music that sounds old. And not old in a 50s radio kind of way, but like in a just dated kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I get into this argument all the time with fans of the bands that I like. We're like, oh, this album was, I'm like, yeah, but I can't listen to it because it just sounds
old.
So
crummy.
So I like when it's part of the reason I like hearing it live instead, because it sounds vital again and alive. But it is kind of fascinating. It's like, what if we both write, from time to time?
Yeah.
It stands to reason you're going to come up with a better idea later.
Absolutely.
Or you could make it better.
Yeah.
So why not?
It's got to be hard. I watch a lot of musician interviews, and I love when someone asks them about that process, about when you step away and say that this is a finished product. It's got to be challenging to ever say, that's it. We're done. We can't do any better.
Right.
And then especially like you're saying, years later, like when the technology changes or
Right.
when you're a better musician, to not go back and go, I'm going to fix all that crap.
Even more so from a mixing standpoint, right? Where
Oh, absolutely.
people might say, couldn't you have done better? And you can, it's right there. You can still do it, but it's like, no, it's done.
Yeah. Like, why don't they go back and fix those Oasis albums? Like
Right.
everyone who knows anything about those albums knows that it was like a victim of this thing called the loudness war, where they bumped up every single instrument and the vocals.
Yep.
And it's like the quality is almost unlistenable. If you play it, it's a lot. It's a lot of noise, and sometimes not in a good way. It can be kind of taxing. Why don't they just go back and fucking fix that?
Right.
They have all the originals,
Yep.
right? I mean, unless it was in that fire that happened
That's
a
true.
few years ago, but
Yeah.
no, that's a good call.
Probably political, money, all kinds of reasons.
I'm sure.
But, yeah, I know with the Metallica Death Magnetic, that was also one of the worst examples of that. And what got a lot of traction online was someone found all the stems from the Guitar Hero game,
Oh, wow.
pulled them out and remixed and remastered the album,
No kidding.
starting from, because the video game had to have all the tracks.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, what do you think about the Foo Fighters Bee Gees album?
You know what? I haven't listened to it.
Really?
Nope. I guess there's your answer, right?
Yeah. You actually have a soft spot kind of for the Bee Gees, I feel like.
Well, I mean, in a almost ironic sort of
Okay.
way. Yeah. I don't know how that one, I was aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, they're the DGs.
Right.
It's clever as all hell. And
What's
it's,
the album title's great. What is it? Satin Forever?
it's something like, yeah. It's,
Like instead of Satan Forever, something like that. It's so great.
I did see a video.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, you know, I
get
smiled.
it.
and it's well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I never really,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Fish does, or they did for years on Halloween, they would do an entire set as another band and they would dress like them. So they've done like the White Album, they've done Remain in Light, a few different ones. I'm not interested. Like I'd come to see Fish and they do it just the straight versions of the songs, not jammy.
Okay.
Like at least jam, like at least do what you're good at doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird.
I guess it's to give people variety, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, the other 364 days you can get a Fish show and then they're like,
For
well,
sure. But artists do this from time to time. Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie a few years ago did an entire Teenage Fan Club. Like it was just the album. He just re-recorded it. And some of it was interesting. It's like he put his little take on it. I don't know. I don't think I have an appetite for a full album worth like 1-to-1 tribute.
No.
I think that's a lot.
No, that's
Even if I like both bands,
right.
you know, it's just weird.
I agree with that. Like, you know, using that Isbell reference here, I wouldn't want to hear him doing the entire Black Album.
Yeah.
Then
yeah,
it just
no
gets
thanks.
weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's true.
Another way I was exposed, I think both of us were exposed to B-sides when we were kids, was through soundtracks. And I don't think at the time often we knew that they were B-sides. We just thought, oh, our favorite band has an extra song on this soundtrack. And it turns out it was just an old song. It could have been a couple albums old even. But in fact, I feel like if you had the bands that did the theme for a movie, right, that they were like, you know, the people making the motion picture called out, like, we want you to record this and it's got to be about the movie. But for the most part, the rest were just B-sides, I feel like. I could be wrong.
Probably, although I think soundtrack songs are, they're kind of own unique category, because I think that depending on the size and the assumed popularity of the movie, I think it becomes a tactical popularity decision by labels and bands. I think they do sometimes save some of their best material.
No kidding. Okay.
But I think that there are times where it is, you know, whether it's the studio, the actors in the movie, whatever, if they know that a band is going to be included and they come to them for a song,
Yeah.
I think they sit down and go, well, everyone's going to hear this. It's our chance to get mainstream exposure.
Okay.
You've got 15 songs in the vault. You're going to put 12 on the album. Give me your best one.
Right.
Your second best one. Because this is going to be heard by a lot more people than your album.
Right. And they can hold the carrot out that, like, here's all these other great bands are going to be on this album. So you get to, you get that advantage of people wanting to buy this ahead of time.
Right. So I'm thinking of Last Action Hero soundtrack.
Okay.
It was all original songs.
Gosh, I can remember the cover, but I don't remember any songs that
like
are on it.
Schwarzenegger jumping on it.
Okay.
But they were, so Anthrax had Poison My Eyes on that.
Okay.
Great song.
Okay.
And there's no way that would have been a B-side.
Okay.
You know, I think that was that was around Sound of White Noise. That would have been on the album for sure.
Okay.
But they probably said, well, we're Anthrax. We're not that big. and we're going to be on a blockbuster motion picture soundtrack.
Yeah.
Let's give them the best song.
And so we'll get the royalties from that. And then people will hear the song and say, I want to go get an Anthrax record.
Exactly.
If this is what they sound like.
Which, if we were in a band, so we would do, right?
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
that's why you'll probably hear us on other podcasts.
Right, exactly. We're going to whore ourselves out so hard.
No shame.
Yep.
Shameless. I think of the single soundtrack, I think did both. Because you have Wood is the first song on it by Alice in Chains, which was an album track. I don't know what the order, the chronological.
Yeah, I think it came after. I think they put it, it's the last song on Dirt, and I don't think that's coincidence.
So you think it gained a lot of, like they put it on singles, it became hugely popular, like we got to put it on our next studio album.
I think so.
Okay. But then on that album, you also have non-album tracks by most of the other artists. I feel like there's two Pearl Jam songs that weren't on any album, which was like the big draw for a lot of people. There's a Smashing Pumpkins non-album track, which they ended up doing. I don't know if this was before or after an entire B-sides album called Pisces Iscariot, which had Landslide on it, right? The Fleetwood Mac cover. Yeah, so I feel like they hedged their bets there too. And there were covers on that, right? There were Ann and Nancy Wilson did a Led Zeppelin cover. So
remember the Judgment Night soundtrack?
Oh, that is a cool thing.
Badass.
Yeah, it's not that good. If you were to go back and listen to it,
you're right. The idea was better than the execution.
100%.
But there's a few nuggets of greatness
Absolutely.
in it. I think Dell and Dinosaur Jr.
Yes, that's a good one.
Great song.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were all original songs pairing a sort of alternative rock band with an MC or with a hip hop.
Or how about, I think, a kind of criminally underrated piece of work because it came off as too gimmicky, but the Jay-Z Linkin Park Collision Course.
I have no recollection of this.
Yeah.
You've mentioned it before. I have no recollection that this ever happened.
Yeah. I mean, it was a mashup before mashups were a thing.
Okay.
But it was each song, if you want to call it that, is 50-50 or it goes back and forth and back. Like Linkin Park, Jay-Z, Linkin Park. Oh. They're songs and they kind of string them together, but they re-performed them.
Oh, okay.
So like Jay-Z recut the vocals, Linkin Park redid the vocals.
I see.
They would swap who did the vocals. So you'd have Jay-Z doing Linkin Park and Linkin Park doing Jay-Z.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Really interesting and really well done. And it kind of just disappeared in like the annals of music history, but it was well done.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Other ones I remember from that time from our childhood, GNR. You remember GNR Lies?
Yeah, kind of controversial, that one.
Yeah, because it has that.
1 in a million.
Yeah, it's got a F-bomb in it.
Oh,
or an N-bomb as well.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Both kinds of F-bombs.
Which I think they've resisted reprinting it, or if they have, they're just leaving that song off.
And it had Patience.
It did have Patience, which was a huge hit.
Huge.
Yeah.
So
off of B-Sides compilation.
Yes.
Can I just bring up really quickly a song which I wish they would recut, which is a song I really love called, I love it so much I can't remember the name of it. It's A Fairy Tale in New York by the Pogues. It's a Christmas song. Okay. And it's him and Christy McCall. It's the Pogues, and I think Christy McCall is the name of the female singer with them. And it's a great back and forth. Anyway, I don't need to describe the song, but what I will say about the song is there's a F-bomb. There's a homophobic slur in the song where it's two lovers or former lovers talking back and forth, and she calls him a homophobic slur. And it's a fantastic song, and they can't play it. And I feel uncomfortable playing it because the vocals are, it's not almost
down in the mix.
No,
it's not sugar.
The whole point is to hear the banter between these two people. And when she calls them that, it's just ruined. I have found,
I'm just picturing like Baby It's Cold Outside where he calls her a cunt or something.
Well, Baby It's Cold Outside, that's a whole other thing. That's
true.
A super rapey Christmas song.
That's true.
But yeah, I have found a censored version. I guess that counts as a B-side or an alternate take too.
We haven't talked about clean versions.
Because I was going to say, I've had to, as a parent, seek them out. Any recording artist listening that makes clean versions of your records, thank you. I think it's when we were kids and we saw them, and in at least one case accidentally bought it thinking it was the regular version. We're like, oh God, what a sellout. What a crap thing. As a parent, I'm so thankful because I still get to listen to the music, but without the curse words in it.
Because you a stupid, dumb sucker.
That was it. Shout out to our boy Z who had the NWA
They
clean
made
version.
Straight Outta Compton clean version.
You got to still be able to find it somewhere.
If I thought editing these episodes was difficult.
What is the point?
I can't imagine that sound engineer. I mean, his first words were like, seriously, guys?
not only the sound engineers, but the MCs themselves.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Like, it'd be so bizarre.
Actually, wait, hold on. Wasn't Straight Outta Compton the one that had a radio side and a street side? And the radio side had no cursing.
What?
Yeah.
So Express Yourself doesn't have any cursing.
Exactly. Neither does We Want Easy.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure there's two sides to that, and one has swearing and one doesn't.
Really? But that is a separate issue from the fact that there was the full out clean version.
Yeah, which had two radio sides.
Stupid sucker.
The irony is, this is something that really won't be talked about anymore going forward.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because the idea of a B-side really doesn't exist anymore, because with streaming, everything is out.
They pretty much just drop. Well, I mean, do artists that end up dropping B-sides later, essentially? Like saying, here's some stuff that we didn't include when we first released it for streaming?
I think sometimes they hold on to it later, but I think, a lot of us have probably noticed when you go to buy an album these days, if you still buy albums,
Yeah.
that there'll be the original, like you mentioned with Wilco, the original and the deluxe version.
Yeah, sure.
And I think they're basically saying, okay, well, here it is if you want it.
Right.
If you want to save a few bucks,
Yeah, just get the...
it goes back to our original talk about what makes an album. Does the physical, is it restrained by the physical medium anymore?
It doesn't have to be.
No.
Right.
But I think everything is its own thing now, and everything's available for streaming. So I think the line is going to blur, and it really, I don't know. I don't know that there'll even be a distinction anymore.
Which is kind of a bummer, because I don't know. I have a collector's sort of mentality where I like to be a completionist. Like, I was a sucker for baseball cards. I still am. I do the soccer World Cup sticker books. I like to collect. And I remember being so excited about that challenge when we were kids to find. I remember you and I going to that weird
guy,
on music store on Van Dyke. Yeah. Ultrasounds.
Yeah. With that guy who looked like a 70s porn performer who owned it.
Right. He was older, and it was all tapes. Was it all tapes?
Oh, there were CDs.
There were CDs? Okay. Yeah. But he had tons of bootlegs. Just tons of bootlegs. I remember getting my first bootleg there, getting a Pearl Jam one where they had whatever song. I was super into Pearl Jam at the time, and I'm like, this is not on it. They ended up recording it. But that feeling, I love that feeling of being like, I have something that nobody else has.
Right. And a guy had to order it.
Yeah.
And it would come in a few weeks, and you would go into the store and check, was it in yet?
Oh my God. It's the opposite of on demand. Right?
Yes. Yes, it is. You're going to wait. We're not even going to call you. Just come and check later.
It's like that In Flight in East Lansing, that head shop that had a stack of tapes on the counter and a big long list. It was like a stapled packet of shows.
Yep.
Like, here's the shows we have tapes of because somebody that works there is following these bands around, and they had, Dave Matthews, Fish, Grateful Dead, all that kind of stuff. And you'd be like super interested, like, oh, they did this 15-minute long version of this, or here's a song that's a non-album track, and you got to get that. Those days, again, even the jam bands put everything out there. Mm-hmm. They just make 30 because they figure we have enough money, we can tape every single show. Mm-hmm. Let's just we'll just charge people a premium, and then they can get the whatever version of the song they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I remember for me, it was 89 Metallica Bread Fan.
Okay.
Every Metallica fan fucking loved that song.
Okay.
Which was a cover.
Okay.
Like most of their covers.
Yeah, so
no one knew the original.
Like 70s.
Yeah. I think
European metal.
Budgie or something. Yeah. They always pick these, 70s new wave of British heavy metal bands that no one knows about. Yeah. But everyone loved it. They'd play it on the riff. People would lose their fucking minds. Like, oh, how can I get it? And the only way you could get it was a CD single in Japan.
Wow.
And I remember I ordered it in East Lansing.
Okay.
At a warehouse. $32.
Wow.
To get the Japanese CD single of One, and Bread Fan was the B-side.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And by the time I finally got it, I'm like, I listened to this a bunch of times already. But I had it.
You had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those days I think are pretty much gone.
Yep. No.
I mean, they're doing it now where, because we're sort of in a streaming first world where you'll have to buy the vinyl to get the extra songs now. They won't put them on streaming services, which I...
Right, but even then some asshole's going to rip it within 10 hours.
For sure. You can always get it.
I know.
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube for sure.
It's both good and bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, here's a fun little game for you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to think of this on the spot, but do the best you can.
I'll do the best I can.
I have a dream cover song that never happened.
Oh,
And I really wish it would have. And I think it would have been the best cover song of all time.
okay.
I want to hear Black Crowes
Uh-huh.
doing Church of the Poison Mine.
I don't know that song.
No, Culture Club. You do. Don't fucking rain dance Maggie me with this.
Do they say Church of the Poison Mine in it?
God damn it. Fucking A. You know, here I am thinking I'm going to have a cute little bit.
But then I'm going to be astounded by
Yeah, you're going to go,
genius.
oh, dude, that would be awesome. Nope. You fucking rain dance Maggie'd me.
I'm trying to do it in my head, but I keep coming back to... Okay, this sounds familiar.
Okay, just wait till the fucking harmonica kicks in. Give it a minute. Wait for it. There's the organs.
Okay, this is very familiar.
Thank you. Okay, so now imagine this is a Black Crowes song.
Okay.
Seriously, no, it's like he plays a harmonica,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Replace this with like rock at the same tempo.
Okay.
Chris Robinson singing it.
Okay. I can picture. I can totally picture it.
Totally picture it.
Sorry.
You have to listen to this whole song later. It's your
I don't want
penance.
to.
What?
I have nothing for Culture Club. Nothing.
All right, that's a whole nother episode.
It is crazy how pop-leaning you were and how you're not now. And you'll go back and listen to it.
In the Church of the Poison Mine.
No.
Gospel background singers?
I-
This is begging to be a Black Crowes song.
it is.
Thank you. All right, that's all I wanted was that validated. All right. Get back to the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you think of a song that you like and I'm like, man, if this other artist I liked did it, it'd be fucking awesome.
No.
Yeah.
You
know what? Save it for social media. Think of it later.
I'll think of it.
Yeah.
But I will say this about knowing Tank for as long as I have. Tank is always thinking about a way to improve something.
Yeah.
This is part of what you do. It's
Yeah.
you. I remember being kids and we'd be playing some sort of backyard game and you're like, what if we added in this wrinkle?
Yeah.
I remember watching sports and you going, they shouldn't have that rule.
Yeah.
If they did away with this rule and they had this rule instead, there would be a way better game. And it's memorable because you weren't wrong.
Yeah.
What was the one you think there should be no punts?
Yes.
You've been saying that since we were like 12.
And for the record, NFL, give it 5 years, we know kickoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Concussions,
basically
everything.
there's not now. Right.
Yeah. And by the way, that mindset leads to a lot of therapy. Just pro tip for people out there.
If you have those tendencies, maybe address them earlier
'cause,
than later.
You can't turn it off, folks.
No, I don't ever think like who could do this different. I do think I wish this version were more popular.
Yeah.
I think that quite a bit, but no.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll come up to you in the shower tonight. You can put it on later.
It's possible.
On the other end of that, it's not always a good fit. And I'm a pretty big Anthrax fan, and for whatever reason, they covered Radiohead's The Bends. And I was telling E about it, and we actually listened to it today. And it's funny because I knew it wasn't good, but I would listen to it because it's on the extended version and it comes up and I just let it keep playing. But it wasn't until I watched him physically react to it, almost retching.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much I hated it.
Right.
Because
exactly.
I do have open ears, like I will, but I kept going, no. Do not keep doing that.
Right. But I mean, so, the music was whatever. It's kind of color by numbers. John Bush, the Anthrax vocalist at this time, in the upper echelon of metal vocalists, but it just goes to show sometimes two great tastes don't taste great together.
That's totally true. That is totally true.
And actually, and if anyone else, you could put on our YouTube or Instagram, there's got to be more examples of you like band A and you like band B.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I remember playing a cover for my kid and thinking she would dig it because she is a blend, like her musical taste and, genetically a blend of my wife and I. And
that's your science fact of the day,
thank
folks.
you. Yeah, that's right. We're all about education here. So I listen to more rock music. My wife listens to more dance. And there's this cover version I really like of Taylor Swift's. God, this is a Taylor Swift podcast now. I'm going to add it as an asterisk. Add it in the description, which is good because we'll gain the Swiftie followers.
We really should have planned this better.
Yeah.
Speaking of gearing your material towards an audience.
Right. Yeah. Jimmy Eat World, who I really like and who my daughter really likes when I play them. did a cover of We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, and they did it on Conan. It was on Spotify for a while and they pulled it off. You can still watch the YouTube clip of it, and they rearrange it. They slow it down and they punch it up with rock guitars. And I really like it. I played it for my daughter. She's like, this is terrible. And my, like, you got to know my daughter. She never says that. She's super accepting. She'll be like, oh, Daddy, I like this. And it'll be some weird ass shit I'm listening to. She'll go, oh, Daddy, I like your music today. The other day I caught her in her room listening to a playlist that I made called Daddy's Jazz, because I made it. She liked particular jazz songs. Mm-hmm. So I put them on a playlist for her, and she was just listening to it on her own. So she's accepting. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Dad, this is garbage. This is garbage.
Hey, Dad, I got to break it down to you. This sucks.
And this was like a year ago. She's like 8 years old at this point. So sometimes it does not work.
Oh, fun fact to wrap things up with that I read just today about Quentin Tarantino. And with us talking about soundtracks.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He is such a music person.
Yeah.
Like he has these immense collections of obscure records.
Okay.
I found out he actually will make the movie around the soundtrack.
No kidding.
They were talking about Pulp Fiction. He picks the songs first and then writes the scenes to fit the songs. Yes.
Incredible.
That's why the songs are such a good fit for what's going on.
Wow.
Because the song came first.
And you can't think about his movies without thinking, especially, I mean, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, you think of the music right away.
Right. But that's why it was music first and he builds the scenes around.
Wow.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
So with that, we will take you into the playlist challenge, which is mostly verbs.
With an exception.
There might be a noun in there. I don't know. It's been a long time since school, folks.
That's right.
But that's coming at you next.
Yep.
The theme for this week's playlist challenge is verbs. And for those of you who have completed an elementary school level education, you know that means...
Ooh, that's me.
Yeah, hey, me too. And as we all know, a verb is a word that is an action.
Correct.
Thanks.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
I feel validated.
That's right. I knew my English degree would come in handy sometime.
That's
Finally.
Right. That's right. But yeah, the rule is the arbitrary rules we're enforcing is that it has to be one word and that's it. No second word, no funny business. One word has to be a verb. That is the challenge. Since it was my questionable idea, that means that E goes first. So I will throw over to him to his ranking of the 5.
All right, let's do it. Let's go right at number 5. Number 5 is Chasing by Aloe Black.
Number 5, she only need one thing to survive. She gets them high when she drops it low. And you know how the story goes. I said the girls, chasing the boys, chasing the money. Don't chase the money.
So I'm guessing you got this album because of the Man, right? The song The Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that song.
Well, and
is there another one?
I Need $1.
Okay, I don't think I know.
You know what? I think those are separate albums.
Oh.
I think I have 2 Aloe Black albums.
I mean, it's
the fuck was I thinking?
very surprising.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're perpetuating my streak of not
being able to guess the lowest
I always
one.
put in an obvious number 5.
No.
And then every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You know what you're asking for? You're asking for more Kid Rock. This is how you get more Kid Rock.
Come on. I mean, I might rather have Kid Rock than this song. No, I'm not kidding.
And by the way,
I'm kidding. I mean,
one of my ideas was I was going to give you Kid Rock ba with the ba.
Okay.
And then you would say, but that's not a verb. I'm like, prove it.
Oh, good. That would have been good.
What the fuck is it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Would have been plausible deniability. But
Right.
anyway, I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't need to say too much about. I'm not generally a fan of R&B, and so just whatever sound that is, the sort of I don't know, the vocal stylings. I'm just not. It doesn't connect with me for whatever reason. This song was kind of show tuney almost, like in a kind of like Sarah Bareilles show tuney kind of way. I actually like some Sarah Bareilles stuff, but I don't like her show tuney stuff. Anyway, I wasn't crazy about that. There's like a reggae interlude at some point in it where there's like a clear reggae that I found that like off-putting. It's also sort of like gently misogynistic, which I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
But essentially the song's about like
It's the name of my first hardcore gay porn, by the way.
Oh boy. Yeah, the song seems to be that a bunch of girls want him for his money. Like there's like this myth of the welfare queen perpetuated at the very beginning, talking about being in Section 8 housing and waiting till the first of the month to. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't and I was surprised to hear that kind of. And maybe I'm more used to it in hip hop and less in R&B. It's just not my thing. I get why people like this kind of music. It's just not my thing.
Got it.
Oh, sorry. One more thing. There's a couplet in here where it goes, okay, so anyway, I was looking at the lyrics as I was reading it, and I usually use Spotify, but then Spotify's not always great about lyrics. So I'll double check and I'll go to genius.com. And I'm glad I did. I double check when the lyrics seem questionable. Like, I don't think that's accurate. And then I'll go to genius.com. So I did that because the line read, this couplet read, when I'm on stage, all the ladies scream, but all I'm thinking of is fairy creeps. And I'm like,
fairy creeps.
I'm like, what the fuck is a fairy creep?
Right.
It's
That's actually the title of my second hardcore gay porno.
Fairy creeps are not a thing. He says, all I care about is cream. Like cash rules everything around me.
Oh.
He's speaking in for these women who are chasing him.
Mm-hmm.
So it made a lot more sense, but I love the idea that fairy creeps would be a thing. And I was just supposed to accept it. Number 4 is going to be what Tank probably thought my number 5 was going to be, which is Dance by Soul to Soul. I'm going to groove to this for a little while. I know we're probably not playing in the background.
No, I might have to. Might have to break precedent here.
Modern people tend to dance. With this music, I'll put you in a trance.
Oh God! So, all right, not to step all over, but like, I've always, whenever I hear this song, I texted E about this song, I don't know, a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You have a text. It's buried somewhere.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm like, it's as if. Is this guy's name Jazzy B or something?
Oh, is it? That sounds right.
Something. Whatever his name is. It's as if he's someone's like in the late stages of dementia grandparent who wandered into the studio and just started talking. Like, it's like, I feel like somewhere there's a 75-minute version of this song where he just starts listing his like, don't forget to drop off the dry cleaning. I could go for a sandwich. I like peanut butter.
Oh, God. I mean, I laughed immediately, which is good. Like, honestly, that's great. If nothing, I can get a laugh out of this playlist, Jen. It's so great. Yeah, I wrote down something similar. It's funny because I don't remember that text, but I said, there are times when it sounds like he's learning to speak English. or reciting poorly translated Bible verses.
He laid down upon thee.
You will shine a light
to the manger, and now we dance.
I like that it opens up with like just an observation that people tend to dance.
Right.
Do they?
They may not. I don't know.
Those that I've seen tend to dance.
But then again, you have to take into account the kind of places I hang out. Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad. Yeah, and then one of the next lines is delivered like a threat, like, I'll put you all in a trance. What did I ever do to this guy? Right. Jazzy B.
Pick the fuck up, Jazz.
Also, the laugh sounds like the 7-Up guy. Which you have to be of a certain age to know who 7-Up guy is for sure, but that was a thing.
Again, and also this is one of those songs that I'm picturing, at the very least, the producer, if not the record label people, sitting there on the other side of the glass giving a thumbs up like, you're killing it.
Good thing this is self-funded, because that's the only way it's getting released.
Right. Oh, and I'd be remiss not to mention, there is basically a duplicate of this called African Dance right after it.
Oh, really?
With the exact same beat.
But is it
I don't know. I don't,
in
dude.
some sort of African language?
Dude, my life is too short to really understand what the differences are. All I know is it's the same beat. So when you listen to 2 tracks in a row,
Yeah.
they both start with that exact
Oh
same.
my God, that's crazy.
But we will be doing an entire episode breaking down the difference between dance and African dance
Yes.
in season 3.
That's right. Speaking of the beat, it sounds like they literally took a preset on a cheap ass Casio
Yes.
keyboard and started it. And then they add layers on it after that.
Right.
Which made me think of this thing that just came out at the time of recording recently, where Damon Albarn from Blur and Gorillaz did an interview, and he's doing like here's all these crazy old instruments I have. And he shows how Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz was made, and it's literally rock preset 1 on like this old ass Kawasaki or something keyboard. Like it's the exact beat. He just used it.
Wow.
Yeah. This sounded like that, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
Also, so the only song I actually remembered from Soul to Soul is Back to Life, right? I don't think so. The woman that sings that, is she not like Soul to Soul? Like
No, they're a collective.
they are.
I'm
Okay.
pretty sure Jazzy just fucking said that in the song.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
I was just
What is Soul to Soul? We're a collective. I actually think those are lyrics.
Oh,
I'm
no
gonna look
shit.
that up.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Because so when I brought up the song, I saw his like silhouette or whatever on the album cover, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He dances around in the video a lot. But I didn't remember him actually playing any instruments. I wondered if he was like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones guy, where like he's just a dancer. That's all he does. But clearly not. Clearly he delivers vaguely threatening, strange spoken word stylings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the lyrics now. We have to keep moving. Or
It's
I would,
so- I know.
but this
So
isn't
good.
the endless fountain of entertainment.
Yeah. Okay, number 3. 3, 2, and 1 is actually a difficult choice in a good way because I like them all. So there's that. Spoiler alert. Let's say number 3 is Animate by Rush.
Polarize me, sensitize me, criticize me, civilize me, compensate me.
So I was worried at first that this was another joke, like you were punking me, like it was going to be like old 70s Rush, like kind of weird, like with Geddy Lee's like piercing vocals, like was just out of control.
Yeah.
It was not that. It looks like this was from 1993-ish. Okay. I don't remember. Or maybe I do. Like, was this played on the radio? Was this a single?
I think it was. I know that the big single was "Stick It Out,"
Yeah. Okay.
which this is personally my favorite Rush album.
So I really like the song actually, and I'm not a Rush fan. I think I mentioned before, I'm not typically a Rush fan. I liked the documentary a whole lot. I thought it was fantastic, the one that came out a few years ago. It was heavier than I remember Rush being in a good way, which was cool. More modern sounding than I remember too. It was. I mean, this is not the 70s Tom Sawyer type Rush. Like the production is really nice. It's really crisp. If you know anything about Rush or you hear anything about Rush, it's always about what amazing individual musicians all these guys are. And that is clear on this song.
Exactly. And the motivation was, I'm like, okay, I want to get him to somewhat like Rush, and this is the best chance because it minimizes what I think are the most annoying parts.
Yeah.
And it maximizes their strengths.
Yes.
Even to the point where it opens up with a Neil Peart drums.
Yes.
Like,
The drums are great at the
like
beginning.
arguably the best drummer that ever lived.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it starts with just clean drums.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's well produced.
Yeah. Yeah. All the fills. And there's no wasted energy in this. And
Just shows how good they are as musicians.
amazing. Yeah, it's exactly what I wrote. I said they're all distinct. You can hear them. It's almost like at that jazz sense where they're all playing slightly different. They're just all so adept at what they're doing
Right.
that there's a distinct bass line that's not just following along with the drum beat, but it all works together. Like
Yeah.
it all comes together perfectly. I really enjoyed it. I was proud of myself that as I was reading the lyrics, I correctly identified the theme, that it's a lot about masculinity and femininity. Apparently it's like some Jungian concept that everybody holds masculine and feminine inside them at all times. So that followed my expectations of the lyrics being kind of heady, which I appreciated actually.
and fits in with the album's name is Counterparts.
Okay.
And it fits in with the theme.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay. And this is the first track on the album.
It is. It is the opener.
Okay.
And a lot of good songs in that album.
Yeah, this is one of the most surprising ones we've done so far.
And fun fact, Neil Peart is the lyric writer for Rush.
Yeah.
Geddy Lee doesn't write the lyrics.
I read that. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. It's a 6-minute long song, and it needs to be 6 minutes long. Like, that seems like kind of a longish song. I bet there's a lot longer Rush songs, but it needed to be this long. I don't know how to say it other than that. Like, in order to breathe, in order to function the way it functions, it needs to be this long. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
So for number 2, we'll do Strip Search by Faith No More.
It's over today. The heat is gone. Time's gone.
Honestly, as I listen, this is a toss-up. One and 2 are honestly a toss-up. This is great. I don't know this song.
I knew you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's really good.
And you have to admit, not at all, when you heard the title Strip Search, probably not at all how you expected it to start.
Not at all. And I didn't get any help from the lyrics themselves. They don't seem to have anything to do with a strip search. I really liked it. I forget, because you're a huge Faith No More guy.
Correct.
I forget every time you play it or I listen to it on my own how important keyboards were to that band or are to that band. And I usually wouldn't like that. Like, I hate in the late stages when touring bands add a keyboardist in, right? Like, sort of like Dave Matthews adds a keyboardist or whoever adds a keyboardist. This doesn't have a funny name too. Is it like Roddy Bottom or something? Yeah. Like, he's a permanent part of the band and an important part to their sound. And I like the way it starts. There's a great drum groove, which sounds like he's in the groove for like almost the whole song, the same groove, but it doesn't sound like pre-programmed. It's still noticeably like an actual musician playing it. And I really like that. You get a little bit of Mike Patton's vocal range, right? Like the breathy sort of ooh-ahs or whatever that is at the beginning, and then into his actual singing, and then his spoken word stuff kind of in the middle. Not a fan of the sort of spoken word kind of breakdowns, but because the music is just so interesting, I gave it a free pass. There's an introduction of some heavy guitars toward the end, which is really cool. Like, I'm like, oh, that's Faith No More. Like, that's more like I remember the band. And I really liked it. And I thought, I have a note here that says, if this were instrumental, it would be awesome. I don't need to know what the lyrics are. They don't need to mean anything. This is a really good example of, if you want to go back to our episode on lyrics, why they're not important to me. This is a great example of times where they don't need to be important, because the way he delivers his vocals, the strength of his, just his ability to sing. I don't know how else to say it.
Right. If vocality isn't a word, it needs to be.
Well, I think I said a word I learned recently, the timbre of it. Like, there's just something about his voice that hits my ears the right way. And the way he delivers, like when he chooses to sing and when he chooses not to sing, he just nails it in this song. I really like it.
And also, fun fact, the only popular recording artist that's around that has a 7-octave range.
That's incredible.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video that shows examples of all 7.
Holy shit. Yeah. Okay, so that was number 2, Strip Search by Faith No More. How old is this song?
That was on Album of the Year, so I think that is 97.
Wow.
Yeah, it's old. That was that's the last album pre-breakup.
Okay.
So you had that, and then 20 years.
20 years
until Soul Invictus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that makes number 1, Catharsis by Anthrax. First note, is catharsis a verb?
Yes.
I thought it's a thing you have, like it's a noun.
No, but I mean, the act of doing it is catharsis.
It is?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if I was standing somewhere screaming and breaking things, whatever, like catharsis would be the act of letting it out, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I looked it up and it counts. It counts. We don't need to talk about it.
No, it's like yeah. Either way, it's staying. But But I thought catharsis as a verb, like
you have a but then if it's a catharsis, isn't
like
that
I could see the sentence like he's in the midst of a catharsis.
a catharsis, which is a thing,
Yeah.
or is it an act? Is that the confusion? That's probably the confusion thing because it's an act.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Keeping it.
This was either one or two. At the last second, because I pick these, I rank these as I go live. The reason why I chose this one is because the song was in my head after I heard it for a long time. Very super catchy chorus. Before that, I want to get into the intro. The intro starts with a single guitar on one side of the stereo, and then a second guitar comes in on your other side. I really like that play. Like, that's another thing about it. I know enough about Anthrax, I felt like, but I guess I didn't realize how important like the sort of twin guitar thing is. And it's really evident here where there's like layers of guitar going on at the same time. Yeah, really, really cool intro. Great riff. There's a spoken word part in here too. And I'm like, I feel like Tank picks a lot of spoken word.
No, that's purely coincidence.
Yeah. He's just, I mean, the lead singer has a great rock metal voice. He's got like, it doesn't sound like he has range, but I have a feeling like if I tried to sing one of these songs, I would not come close to being able to hit the notes he hits, which is impressive.
Yeah. I mean, actually this one's kind of loaded. This is my favorite Anthrax song.
Wow.
Of all time.
No kidding.
Yep. And like Only is number 2, right?
Okay.
And maybe number 1, but I feel like this is the essence of everything that I love about the band.
Yeah.
It's fast, but not fast for the sake of being fast.
Yes.
John Bush is arguably the best rock metal vocalist ever.
Yeah, he sounds great.
But yeah, that breakdown part right after the spoken word part, where it's like I let it out, but it comes back. I let it out, but it comes back. And when he finally screams it, it feels like a catharsis.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah,
the song just flows.
It does. Yeah. And I mean, and there's some. There's a part in the chorus where I noted it was like, is this Pearl Jam? Like there's something so catchy about it that it's almost impressive that it's a metal song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really dug it.
John Bush, which if history went different, would have been the Metallica vocalist.
Oh, did he audition?
Yeah, James Hetfield asked him to be the vocalist.
Oh, he did?
In 83. James didn't want to sing.
Wow.
Yeah. And they joke about it. He was on their 30th anniversary show, and he's like, yeah, if things went different, I would have been here. You know?
No shit.
Yeah.
Did he sing on the 30th anniversary?
Yeah.
What did he sing?
He did Four Horsemen and a couple other things. It sounded awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Because everything John Bush sings sounds awesome. Yeah.
He's got one of those voices for
He's got the balls from hell. I told you that story, right?
I think I was there.
You might have been. Me and Frank.
It's Frank. I know Frank was
involved.
involved.
It was like in Musicland at Lakeside Mall. And for whatever reason, we were buying the Armored Saint tape, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
And the employee was just standing there looking at us like, oh man, John Bush, man, he's got the balls from hell. Which might be accurate, but just a weird thing to bring up in conversation.
It really is. It implies a level of comfort.
Right.
May not have been there.
Which me and Record Guy did not have.
Right. That was awesome. That might have been my favorite playlist challenge yet. I mean, 3 out of 5 were hits for me.
Good, because I mean, I liked a lot of those songs I really liked.
Oh, so if I would have shit on them, that would have been not good.
It would have been bad. This would have been the last podcast.
So next up is Tank with his with the songs I provided for him.
Yes, sir. All 5 of which are unquestionably verbs.
Thank you.
And by the way, I've been frantically Googling, and yeah, it's a noun. But you know what?
Fuck it.
Fuck all y'all.
Yeah.
It's our podcast. It's my topic. And you know what? Fine, fuck it. Here's a new topic. It's 4 verbs and a noun. Right? Fuck you. All right. So for the songs that he has given me, I will jump right into it. At number 5 is a song called Doused by, spelled D-I-I-V, apparently pronounced dive.
Correct.
All right. So I'm gonna just get right at it. I don't like this song.
I didn't think you would.
No, I really don't like it. Like, I think this is possibly my least favorite playlist challenge song so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't choose things to punk you or to piss
No,
you
I know,
off.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. That's why I feel bad when it's how I feel.
No,
but,
go for it, man.
But I have the vocalist annoys the shit out of me.
I can see that.
He sounds whiny.
Okay.
And like, I can deal with all kinds of different ranges and everything, but when it just comes off as like, just, I don't know, man, that bothered me. The lyrics make no sense at all.
They don't. They don't.
My note was that it looks like it was written by an early version of AI software.
It's really good.
Yeah. Like, okay, the words kind of go together, but not really.
Yeah. I don't even know what the words are. This is another one where I've never looked
Yeah.
up the words. I don't listen to them.
You're not missing anything.
No.
You know, it's another one of these that I think as an instrumental, I would probably not have a problem with.
Yeah.
But, yeah, vocals was ruined it for me. And as an instrumental, it'd be fine, but it's not, it doesn't bring anything particularly new or interesting.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's just sort of there. But yeah, amongst the five, it stood out as like, okay, this is a clear number 5 for me. And I wouldn't quite get angry if it played, but I probably wouldn't play it again.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. At number 4, I went with Drain by Soft Cult.
So trained, how much is it worth when there's nothing left for you to take? Oh, what a privilege it is getting old. I hope I live to be so single. Or should we dare to live forever?
So not bad. You know, I think this one for me is kind of middle of the road where I might, you know, give it a few spins. It opens strong and majestic, but and then it just drops out and it never gets back to that,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Sure.
So like, I feel like it's a bit of a dry hump.
Okay.
The first 10 seconds, by the way, a bit of a dry hump. My third hardcore gay porn video. But yeah, like within the first 5 or 10, like, ooh, this is going to be a big epic
Yeah,
thing. And
yeah.
it just sort of settled into a pop song.
Yeah.
Pop-ish, right? It's not, I know
No,
it's not
for
pop.
sure. It does sound pop. Like
Right.
the vocals are pop. Yeah, for sure.
But not a bad thing. It's just, I feel like that maybe could have even gone somewhere even better. Lyrics are very good here. It's basically about how we're fucking the planet. And from what the limited research I did into Soft Cult, it's basically their MO. I think they're big on that.
For sure.
They publish a political
Zine.
themed,
Yeah,
zine.
yeah.
Exactly. So not bad. Lyrics lower in the mix, which normally is the sugar effect. I'm thinking about giving every one of these songs a sugar score.
Really?
On a scale of 1 to 10, which is how properly mixed the vocals are.
Right.
But it works here.
Yeah, I like it too.
This is an example of they're about where they should be. I think if it was louder, it would draw attention away from the atmospheric sound. So, yeah, very middle of the road, not bad. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Cool. So at number 3 is a song called Dive by Beach House. So I like dreamy atmospheric stuff. I mean, I'm a pretty easy mark for that, I think.
Okay.
And she has a great voice, especially for the mood of this song. It works really well. Although, again, this is the audio snob in me. I'm guessing she can't pull this off live. I'm guessing this is heavily processed.
It sounds processed for
Right.
sure. Yeah, there's a lot of effects on it.
So I would be curious how this would go over live. I guess you can add a lot of reverb and whatever.
Sure.
But the pairing of the voice and the music works really well and just creates the right vibe. The lyrics are vague, but not in a way that's really annoying. It sort of is, it's just part of the art, right? It's not really so much a direct message as it is just sort of adding to the musicality of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel.
No, it does.
And I liked when the drums came in for what they offered dynamically, but they kind of drowned out the lyrics and then ruined the vibe.
Oh, okay.
So about halfway into the song, drums come in, kind of an 80s-ish kind of drum machine sounding thing.
Yeah.
And what it adds in terms of dynamics and some variety, which is nice, but then it's like now the second half doesn't have that vibe that you liked in the first half.
That's true. It is a stark change. It's like 2 songs. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
So it's not bad, but it's almost like, you're like, you get really chilled out and it's like, oh man, like, come on. Right. It's like when I do this a lot. I always listen to different lo-fi music at night to go to bed.
Yeah.
And whenever I run into one with like a really loud cracking snare drum, I'm like, no,
that's not what I'm looking for.
No, I'm trying to fall asleep over here.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway. But I like it. And,
cool.
It's probably something I'll look into the album a little bit more, maybe buy that album.
Yeah, the blogs have been serving up Beach House to me for like 10 years now, and every time I've tried it, I didn't like it. I actually think her vocals here this is the first time I really got her vocals. Like, I don't know if I didn't like her style of singing before. I don't know if anything really changed, but this was the first album to grab me, and I really dig this album. This is a good one.
Okay, for number 2, I went with Collapse by Ila Bamba.
Walking around, I be thinking of myself, how I keep trying, how I keep the faith. I don't need anything from nobody.
So I would have great difficulty describing this to someone.
Yes, I agree with that.
Like if someone said, what genre is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to classify it. Which is good.
Okay.
Right? And I guess the reason why it's number 2 is, even I might not even go back and listen to it a lot, but I'm happy that it sounds different.
Yeah. Yeah.
The lyrics or the vocals / lyrics are stretched and distorted to where it's difficult, even reading the lyrics, it's hard to follow.
Okay.
She kind of doesn't pronounce the end of some words.
Okay.
It really, much like the last one we just talked about, the vocals are definitely an instrument here.
Yes, I agree with that. I didn't pay much attention to the lyrics.
Right. Well,
here.
you never do.
Unsurprisingly.
Season 1, episode 2.
Yeah, right. That's right.
But it works, right? It's definitely the voice here is just to serve as part of the soundscape, not to deliver a message.
Yeah.
Which is fine when that's intentional. And what what this feels like, E?
What does it feel like?
Well, it feels like a mojito.
Ooh.
While you're sitting at a bar on the beach.
Ooh.
Around 1 a.m. when the dance floor is starting to clear out and you kind of want to go home.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Except you want to just hang out there for an extra minute to let the song
maybe
play
another
out.
drink.
Yeah.
You're already going to get an Uber. Why not?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This just came out. This album came out this year, and it kept getting. There's another one kept getting served up to me. Like, you should listen to this. You should listen to this. And I put it on. It was a sunny day. I had the sunroof down, and it was similar vibe. All about the vibes for sure.
And that's going to be a thing now. Number 2 on every list is going to get a metaphor for what kind of beverage and setting it is. It's happening every time now.
We've got plenty of food metaphors for sure already.
Yes.
In season 1.
Yeah, you could tell we record after lunch.
That's right. That's right.
So that means that number 1 is Illuminate by Orbital.
In the world find a way to open our joy and order to.
So side note, first of all, great album cover here.
Oh, isn't it like Crossbones?
Yeah, like X-rays.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, great album cover. So I really, really like this. This is a definite album purchase. It brings all the joy of 80s music without sounding like a parody of it.
Yeah.
Like it's like nostalgia, but not old.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, I remember this is how I felt listening to
Yeah,
80s music.
yeah.
But it's not trying to be 80s music.
Yeah, it's reverential, like right?
Right.
Like they respect it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it sounds old and new at the same time.
Yeah.
So I love that. And so I'm just getting into it, and I'm assuming both from how the song started and from what I was reading on Wikipedia as I'm playing it, and I'm like, oh wait, there's vocals.
Yeah.
And then 3 seconds later, is that David Gray?
It is.
Right. Yeah. And then a few seconds later, oh yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Turns out he's the brother-in-law
Oh, I didn't know that.
of the brothers in the band.
Okay.
So Orbital is two brothers.
Okay.
And David Gray's their brother-in-law.
Incredible.
And I looked, this was recorded or released in 01.
Okay.
And that's the same year that Babylon became a hit.
Yeah.
So I tend to think he probably recorded this not being a thing yet.
A name. Yeah.
Right. He's
yeah.
probably just a guy.
Yeah.
And it was basically this came out the same time that White Ladder blew up.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
But his vocals work most anywhere.
He's got a great,
Yeah.
such a unique voice.
Love his voice. But it has a sunny, uplifting feel. Like just, I don't know, just really dug everything about it. It's the kind of thing you definitely want to, drive around, listen to in the
Yeah.
summer. But no, I want to get into their work more because if there's more like this, and I think I'll like it a lot because that's the thing with 80s music. You can love it, but you can't really do anything other than go backwards, right?
Right.
You don't have a whole lot currently. Like if you like old thrash metal, you can find new thrash metal to listen to.
Sure.
Or jazz or
Yeah.
even hip hop. You have to look harder these days.
Yeah.
But with 80s music, it's like, I can't get it anymore, but maybe you can.
Maybe you can. So I actually don't know anything about Orbital, so I'll be curious to hear what you find.
Well, I will keep you posted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A tidbit about this song is that I only know about this song because they played it. I was living in East Lansing, Michigan, post graduation, and they played it on the student radio station. And I heard it at the same time I had just been delivered my copy of Paste magazine, which is not an actual magazine anymore, I don't think. And they used to come with sampler CDs, and this song was on it.
Oh, okay.
And you couldn't find this on streaming services. I feel like it was like maybe even a non-album track. I don't know. It could have been maybe on an Orbital album to begin with. But yeah, that's how I heard it. And
Nice.
Yeah, I liked it right away.
Yeah. Good times. No, it's definitely going to buy that album today and listen to the rest of it.
Cool.
So that is it for this episode of the playlist challenge of Verbs with an asterisk, because apparently I picked one that wasn't a verb. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
To get play, made a jam to get you slammed back to back in a place where the suckers are basic. Whatever it takes to make it hardcore. We're gonna roll it raw. That's what you buy for. Come on, roll in your ride. The DJ decides to play it on the radio. The A side, he gives it a try, but never really gives it a try. The people request the best on the B